Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. At my husband's office gala, my place card read, "Pathetic gold digger nobody." His colleagues, especially his smirking female boss, burst into laughter. The laughter rippled, then swelled. I felt my spine lock straight as a blade. Still clinging to him after all this time, someone sneered behind me. As I turned to leave, I passed the chief executive officer and murmured, "I would check your stock price if I were you." I did not wait for an answer. I did not need one. "And what do you do, Danielle?" the venture capitalist asked at Darius's company dinner party months earlier. Before I could answer, my husband interjected with an easy laugh. "Oh, Danielle does a little consulting from home. Nothing too serious, just to keep busy while I handle the big decisions." His words landed in the center of our dining room like a grenade. 6 months earlier, my analysis had saved a pension fund $12 million by exposing fraudulent accounting practices at a manufacturing company. 3 major financial publications cited my report. But apparently, I was only keeping myself busy. I smiled politely at the table of investors and technology executives while something fundamental shifted inside me. The woman seated beside the venture capitalist, a pharmaceutical chief executive officer whose company I had researched extensively, nodded in a way that suggested she understood the challenge of managing a wife with hobbies. "How nice that you have time for little projects," she said with saccharine warmth. I could have told her that my little projects had uncovered more corporate fraud in 3 years than her compliance team had unearthed in a decade. Instead, I reached for my wine glass and asked myself when my husband had started seeing me as an amateur. That transformation had not happened overnight. 9 years earlier, we met in the Howard University library during our final semester. 2 broke students with outsized dreams and large student loans looming. I was preparing for my corporate finance final, and Darius's pen tapping at the next table threatened to puncture my concentration. "You know that rhythm you are tapping matches the hook of that pop song?" I whispered during an especially elaborate drum roll on his textbook. He looked up with a grin that made my heart hiccup. "Sorry. I think better with background music, sometimes imagined," he said. "I am Darius." "Danielle," I replied. "And I think best with complete silence." He lifted a brow. "Problem? Or the beginning of a perfect partnership? You handle the quiet focus. I supply the creative energy." We talked until the library closed, discovering we lived on ramen, planned to start our own companies, and believed that mediocrity was the only real failure. "Let us make a deal," I said as we crossed the empty campus. "Whatever happens after graduation, we support one another completely. No competition, no jealousy, true partnership." "Business partners for life," he said, shaking my hand with mock ceremony that somehow felt real. We lived that promise during those early years. When Darius landed an interview with a small technology startup, we celebrated with $3 champagne and rehearsed until dawn. I helped him research the company's technology stack and competitors until he could explain its business model better than some employees. "You are going to transform their approach," I told him as he straightened his tie in our apartment's cracked mirror. "They would be foolish not to hire you. When you land your first major consulting client, we are graduating to champagne in actual glasses," he promised. My consulting business began on our kitchen table. Office space was impossible on our budget. I specialized in equity analysis for smaller investors, identifying red flags that large firms missed or ignored. My days were a thrum of securities and exchange commission filings, executive compensation patterns, and models designed to predict trouble before it hit headlines. Darius did not complain when our apartment turned into a paper-covered research bunker or when the printer hummed into the night. He brought me coffee at midnight and peered at spreadsheets he did not pretend to understand. "Catch any corporate villains today?" he would ask, rubbing my shoulders as I highlighted suspicious transactions. "Actually, yes," I said one night. "A pharmaceutical firm is moving research and development costs between divisions to sweeten quarterly earnings. Investors do not realize how much they are losing on failed trials. That report saved my clients more than $4 million when the stock collapsed 6 months later." Financial journalists quoted my analysis. My phone lit up with investors wanting the consultant who had predicted disaster, while others cheered by. Darius was genuinely proud then. At parties, he introduced me as the woman who took down corrupt corporations from our kitchen table. His pride was sincere, We were building something meaningful together. His career soared through technology firms. He started as a junior analyst, moved to product management, then won roles with real authority and pay. I watched him sharpen his boardroom presence and learn corporate politics that, later, would draw a bigger company's attention. "I got the director of strategy position," he said one evening, vibrating with excitement. "It is a jump, but they want my background in cross-platform integration." "That is incredible," I said. "When do you start?" 3 weeks. "There is a catch. We have to relocate to Seattle." I did not hesitate. "We will move," I said. "This is what we have worked toward." Relocating meant sacrificing my client base and office lease, but I believed in our partnership. I referred clients elsewhere and mapped Seattle's investment community to rebuild from zero. The cost was real, yet watching Darius thrive felt worth every dollar. I could not have predicted how success would alter our balance. The man who once sought my opinion on every decision began making choices alone. He came home buzzing about strategic initiatives and restructuring. When I offered financial perspectives, he smiled politely and redirected. "The complexities are different at this level," became his refrain. "It is not comparable to your boutique consulting work." The shift accelerated when his new supervisor, Candace Tate, entered the picture around our 5th anniversary. Suddenly, every conversation included Candace, her innovative methodologies, her deep connections, her visionary approach to strategy. "She is brilliant," Darius said. "She reframes the solution space entirely." I tried to be supportive. "Invite her to dinner," I suggested. "She sounds like a meaningful mentor." "Candace has a relentless schedule. Executive meetings, conferences, planning sessions," he said quickly. "No time for social gatherings." Without meeting her, I felt Candace's influence tighten around our life. Darius began dismissing my professional judgment, labeling it narrow compared with his comprehensive corporate responsibilities. The consultant who had saved investors millions now supposedly lacked breadth to understand real strategy. The ultimate test arrived when Darius received an offer for a promotion with extensive international travel. The compensation eclipsed our past combined income. "This is our moment," he said, showing me the paperwork. "Everything we planned." "What about my practice?" I asked. "I have rebuilt my clients." "Scale back temporarily. Once I establish myself, you can be selective about projects." He said it casually, like rearranging furniture. Weeks later, at that formal dinner, I listened to my husband reduce my work to playing around, while strangers nodded as though they had solved me. The venture capitalist, Elijah Porter, drifted to a flashier conversation, dismissing me as cleanly as Darius had. I excused myself and faced my reflection in the bathroom mirror, searching for the woman who had rescued pension funds from ruin. She looked back at me, quieter, smaller, but not gone. Walking back to the table, I made a decision that would reshape everything. I was done shrinking to fit other people's comfort. The foundation we built was crumbling, but I still knew how to build. The opportunity came quickly. 3 days after that dinner, Darius burst through the door grinning, his tie half loosened. "Candace wants to meet you," he said, juggling phone notifications. "The company holiday party is next Friday, and she specifically asked if you would attend." My coffee paused midway to my lips. After months of strategic exclusion, she wanted to meet the wife who played around, with consulting. "She asked about me," I said slowly. "She said it is time she met the woman behind the man," he replied, grinning with an edge I could not name. The party was held at the Rainier Grand Hotel in downtown Seattle. I agonized over my outfit and chose a deep green dress that balanced professional and elegant, paired with the pearl earrings Darius had given me. Looking in the mirror, I saw a woman ready to make a good impression. Candace spotted us the moment we entered the ballroom. She moved as though the floor were hers. Tall, sharp-featured, tailored in a suit that likely cost a month of rent, she greeted us with a bright, measured smile. "Danielle, at last. Darius talks about you constantly," she said, just loud enough for nearby colleagues to hear. "You must be proud of his success. We treasure him." "Thank you. He loves the work," I said. "And you work from home?" she asked. "How quaint. It must be wonderful to have so much flexibility." The word quaint sliced with a single syllable. "I run a financial consulting practice focused on equity analysis," I replied evenly. "How interesting," she said, unmoved. "Darius mentioned you help small investors with their little portfolios." "So sweet. Not every woman can be so flexible." "He is fortunate." Behind the smile, something calculated watched me. The conversation lasted minutes, but I left feeling dissected. Candace had recast my business as a hobby, my expertise as helpfulness, my identity as convenience for Darius. On the drive home I said, "She is impressive." "Isn't she?" Darius answered, eyes shining. "She sees right to the heart of things." Then came the text messages. "Happy holidays, Danielle. Hope you are staying busy with your projects while Darius handles our exciting developments. So grateful to have such a dedicated team member. Valentine's Day. Hope you both celebrate. He has been working so hard. You are so understanding. Easter. Thinking of you both. How wonderful that Darius has someone to keep him grounded. You are practical." Each message was a paper cut. Small, deliberate, deniable. "Am I oversensitive?" I asked Darius after the Easter message. "She includes all spouses," he said. "You are reading into it." I was not. My years of analyzing corporate behavior had trained me to recognize patterns. Candace's pattern was obvious. Reposition me from partner to appendage. Darius began quoting Candace's opinions on everything from market trends to countertops. "Candace prefers quartz," he would say. When I suggested a vacation to New Orleans, he countered, "Candace thinks domestic explorations are more strategic in this economy. No need to cross oceans." He treated her advice like law from a higher court. One evening, I raised a concern about the sector's quarterly reports. "Debt-to-equity ratios are climbing across the industry," I said. "The over-leveraging looks like patterns before the last correction." Darius barely looked up from his phone. "Candace thinks fundamentals are stronger than they look. People who focus on traditional metrics miss the bigger innovation picture." "Candace is not a financial analyst," I said. "This is my field. She has a Master of Business Administration from Wharton and 15 years in strategy," he replied. That was that. Candace mastered exclusion with surgical precision. Company events fell on days she knew I had client obligations. She invited spouses to optional gatherings and then sighed publicly about my absence. On one call I overheard, she told Darius, "Other executives' wives are so involved in our culture. Tiffany brings homemade cookies to every event. Michelle organized that charity drive. Family engagement matters." The message was unmistakable. I was failing at being a corporate wife. She scheduled team-building activities that explicitly excluded spouses, then seeded stories about the fun I had missed. "Candace organized an escape room," Darius said, admiring. "She is creative." When other companies hosted spouse-inclusive events, Darius skipped them, conveniently citing Candace's need to review projections that night. I was being erased from his professional world. My breaking point arrived by accident. Darius was in his home office with the door cracked, and Candace's voice carried. "You have so much potential," she told him. "Senior leadership within 2 years, easily. But you must surround yourself with people who match your ambition, who operate at your level." "Danielle is supportive," Darius said, though his voice wavered. "Of course, in her own way. Support and true partnership are different. You need someone who elevates your thinking." I stood in the hallway, cold and still, listening to Candace attempt a hostile takeover of my marriage using the same maneuvering she applied to acquisitions. That night I started keeping detailed notes. Every comment, every friendly text, every scheduling trick. Pattern recognition is a muscle. Mine was fully flexed. The notebook sat in my desk when Darius burst in one Tuesday in March, practically bouncing. "Pack your best dress," he said. "We are going to the company's annual gala next Saturday. Candace insisted you come." The word insisted felt like a dropped pin on a map, marking danger. After months of exclusion, she suddenly wanted me present at the biggest social event of the year. Darius became suddenly attentive, bringing coffee, asking about my work, even suggesting we practice dancing in the living room. "I want everything to be perfect," he said, spinning me clumsily around the coffee table. This could change everything. Against my instincts, I let hope Indiana. Maybe including me was her olive branch. I prepared intensely. I had my hair styled into a sleek updo. I rehearsed talking points about the company's acquisitions and the blockchain project Darius had mentioned. I read market analyses and outlined questions that would signal I had done my homework. For the first time in months, I felt like the professional I had been all along. The Rainier Grand's chandeliers cast honeyed light across marble floors. Servers glided with champagne flutes. I walked in wearing the green dress. Confidence covered me like a well-cut coat until we entered the ballroom. Darius's hand on my back felt performative, not protective. His eyes went straight to Candace. "There she is," he murmured. Anticipation and something sharper flashed across his face. Candace approached like a queen holding court, her silver dress catching light like a net. "Danielle, you actually came," she said. The actually was soft and surgical. "Thank you for suggesting I join you," I replied. "Well, Darius deserves to have his +1 here," she said brightly. +1. Accessory. Darius's hand tightened on my back. He said nothing. "Let me show you to your table," Candace said. "I made sure you are seated with some lovely people." She guided us through the crowd, all poise and theater. "Darius, you are here at the head table next to me," she announced. My stomach dropped. "We are not sitting together?" I asked. "Executives sit at the leadership table. Spouses have their own arrangements," she said lightly, as if explaining gravity. I checked place cards. Jennifer Walsh, marketing coordinator. David Kim, regional sales manager. Tiffany Brooks, executive assistant. Then mine, cream stock, blue ink, elegant calligraphy. Pathetic gold digger nobody. The word struck like a slap. Gasps, then laughter. A ripple became a wave. "Did you see what her card says?" someone whispered. I turned to Darius, waiting for outrage, for even a flicker of loyalty. He stared at his water glass, as though it contained a prayer. His face was carefully neutral. His shoulders held discomfort that was not shock, but the fear of being caught in a cruelty he had known was coming. "Darius," I said softly, giving him one last chance to be the man I had married. He did not meet my eyes. His silence was louder than the laughter. In that moment I realized this was not merely Candace's masterpiece of humiliation. Darius was complicit. The partner I supported through everything could not find courage to defend me at all. Something cold and precise replaced my hurt. The pathetic gold digger nobody. They were laughing at skills they could not imagine. Candace had just made a grave mistake. I left with my head high. As I passed the chief executive officer, Dr. Yolanda Green, who was chuckling with a cluster of board members, I leaned and whispered, "I would check your stock price if I were you." Outside, I slid into a taxi. The driver glanced at me in the mirror now and then, reading the shimmer of tears. He said nothing. I handed him cash at my door and managed only, "Thank you." Darius's car was not in the driveway. He was likely still at the gala, laughing with his colleagues. The house felt smaller, as though it belonged to a life that no longer fit. On Sunday I lay in bed and replayed every moment. The laughter, Darius's silence, the smirk of a chief executive officer certain of her invincibility. By evening, grief calcified into something else. The woman they had tried to erase was dangerous. Monday morning, I sat at my desk and woke up the world I had built. Passwords flickered back to life. My Bloomberg terminal account. The Securities and Exchange Commission's electronic data gathering, analysis, and retrieval database. Industry analysis platforms. The subscriptions I had kept, just in case, suddenly felt like the best investments I had ever made. I opened the company's most recent annual filing. Legal language and financial tables slid by as the old hunger ignited. "Let us see what you have been hiding," I whispered. Within an hour, I spotted the first irregularity. Executive stock option grants dated suspiciously close to announcements that boosted share prices. Not illegal on its face, but indicative of opportunistic timing. Candace's approvals appeared on several documents. I dug deeper into quarterly reports. Revenue recognition pushed against accounting boundaries. Expenses migrated between periods like ghosts. Research and development costs disappeared and reappeared under mysterious labels. "Sloppy," I muttered, highlighting discrepancies. "Arrogant and sloppy." By Tuesday afternoon, I had enough for a regulatory complaint. But that would take months. I needed something faster. I crafted an anonymous, data-heavy analysis for investor forums. Red flags at Ryland Tech, a deep dive into concerning financial patterns. We never called companies by their real names in those spaces. I included charts correlating executive transactions with announcements, graphs of unusual revenue timing, tables comparing the company's practices to industry standards. Every claim had a citation. The post went live Wednesday at dawn. By noon, it had spread across investor communities and 2 financial blogs. That evening brought a surprise. An email to the secure inbox I had created for tips. "Whoever you are, thank you. I suspected the numbers for months, but lacked the expertise to document it. Your analysis is accurate. I have more if interested." A concerned insider. Attachments arrived. Internal emails on optimizing reporting, meeting notes about delaying expenses, and, most damning, A thread discussing announcement timing to maximize stock impact around option vesting. Candace's reply read, "Perfect. The board will not question the accounting treatment if the results look good." On Thursday, another bombshell. A screenshot from an internal Slack channel posted on Gala night. "Did you all see Danielle's face when she found her place card? Priceless," someone typed with laughing emojis. "You actually did it," another replied. "Savage," Candace wrote. Darius said she needed to understand her place. Mission accomplished. She will not be bothering us with her professional insights anymore. The timestamp, 11:47 p.m., less than 2 hours after I left. I saved it with the rest. Friday morning, I published a follow-up titled, "Culture and Conduct, When Leadership Failure Extends Beyond Numbers." The response was immediate. Journalists called corporate communications. Analysts issued downgrades. The Securities and Exchange Commission opened a preliminary inquiry. The Federal Bureau of Investigation began asking quiet questions. The stock fell 12% by the closing bell, and the company announced an internal review of accounting practices. I already knew what it would find. Tips poured into the secure inbox: current employees, former employees, vendors. A junior accountant wrote, "Candace has pushed our department to manipulate quarter-end numbers for months. I have been documenting everything. Your posts gave me the courage to contact the Securities and Exchange Commission. I answered every credible message, sorting evidence until the pattern became undeniable." Saturday evening, exactly 1 week after the gala, I poured a glass of wine and reviewed the week's arc. The company faced multiple investigations. The stock was in free fall. Candace's reputation curdled in real time as journalists surfaced the culture she had built. The woman labeled pathetic gold digger nobody had triggered the biggest corporate reckoning of the year. I was only getting started. Sunday morning, my secure line rang. "I am trying to reach the analyst behind the Ryland Tech posts," said a voice that introduced himself as Malik Owens from the Wall Street Journal. "This is unconventional, but your work has taken hold. We would like to expand it for a front-page story." "What kind of expansion?" I asked. "We have independently verified much of your documentation. Our investigative team has additional evidence supporting your conclusions. We want a comprehensive expose, but we must ensure our source material is bulletproof." 20 minutes later, I had provided anonymous documentation that would fortify their reporting. The Wall Street Journal had a megaphone I did not. On Monday, the headline read, "Tech Darling Under Federal Scrutiny for Accounting Irregularities." Candace's name appeared repeatedly, each mention heavier than the last. By mid-morning, the stock dropped another 18%. Trading halted twice under the weight of sell orders. Around noon, a news alert. Executive Candace Tate placed on administrative leave pending investigation. I screenshotted the notification and filed it under justice served. At 2 o'clock, Darius's key turned in the front door. His footsteps sounded heavy. He appeared in the doorway of my home office, hair mussed, tie loose, suit rumpled. "We need to talk," he said. "About what?" I asked, closing a window tracking the stock's decline. "About Candace. About the investigation. About everything," he said, rubbing his face. "I do not know how much you have heard, but it is bad. Really bad. The Securities and Exchange Commission is launching a formal investigation. The Federal Bureau of Investigation seized documents from Candace's office this morning. There are rumors of criminal charges." He looked at me with eyes I recognized from our early years, truly afraid. "My career could be over," he said. "Everything we built could disappear. I need your analytical expertise. You are the smartest person I know about financial investigations. Will you help me understand what they might be looking for?" The irony was crystalline. "Why would you need my help?" I asked. "Doesn't Candace have everything under control?" He laughed without humor. "Candace is unraveling. She is blaming everyone and insisting she followed industry standards. But some of the documentation, Danielle, I think she manipulated numbers deliberately." "That would be securities fraud," I said. "I know," he whispered. "I am scared." I studied him. Pity flickered, then cooled. "What exactly are you asking?" "Help me distance myself from her decisions. Review the documents I touched, and tell me what looks problematic," he said. "I know I have not been the best husband. I know I did not respect your skills like I should have. But we are a team, right? Partners for life." The words that once felt like a vow now sounded like a slogan. "When did you last treat us like partners?" I asked. "When did you last value my expertise?" When did you defend me when someone attacked my credibility? He stared, color draining. If this is about the gala, it is about everything, I said. I opened a drawer and set a folder on the desk. Inside, apartment listings, consultations with divorce attorneys, financial projections showing what my business would generate if I focused fully. He picked up a page. What is this? My exit strategy, I said. While you idolized your mentor, I rebuilt my professional network. Here is a signed consulting contract with a hedge fund worth more than your annual salary. 3 former clients want to retain me. My reputation for integrity did not vanish. I buried it to support you. His hands shook as he read. You are leaving me. I am saving myself, I said. But my career is falling apart, he said. Candace's investigation exists because someone like me decided to analyze her decisions. Her career is ending because she was arrogant and sloppy. Yours is in jeopardy because you chose loyalty to a corrupt mentor over respect for your wife, I said. He stared, finally connecting dots. You know something about this investigation, he whispered. I closed my laptop and stood. I know that truth rises when someone with the right skills digs for it. Danielle, what did you do? I reminded the world that the woman you dismissed as a pathetic gold digger nobody has a doctor of philosophy in financial analysis and a decade of exposing corporate fraud. I went to the bedroom and began packing, folding clothing with the same care I applied to evidence. You cannot just leave, he said, following. We can work through this. When did you plan to start respecting my expertise? I asked. After Candace's criminal trial? After your reputation recovers from association with fraud? After you decide I am worth defending? He sat on the edge of the bed, smaller than I had ever seen him. I know I failed you. I should have said something at the gala, but Candace told me it was a joke. She said you would understand the humor. She showed you the place card in advance, I said. His silence confirmed it. You knew, and you said nothing. She said it would be funny, he muttered. Did you believe that, or did you simply not care enough to stop it? He did not answer. I zipped the suitcase and set it by the door. On the kitchen counter, I left a note I had drafted weeks ago. It was not the insult that broke us. It was the silence that followed. The woman you dismissed is the same one who brought down your mentor's empire. Underestimating people has consequences. I walked out into crisp Seattle light. My phone buzzed with a new alert. Former executive under criminal investigation for securities fraud. I exhaled, not triumph but certainty. The equity watchdog in me was fully awake. The apartment I found was the opposite of our house, bright, clean, and entirely mine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline. Morning sun pooled on hardwood that did not remember arguments. The kitchen was small but efficient, the perfect base for a woman building a career rather than hosting dinners for people who did not respect her. I unpacked 6 boxes, the sum of everything I truly wanted, and hung my diplomas in my new office. Doctor of Philosophy in Financial Analysis from Northwestern University, Certified Fraud Examiner, industry awards for work I had once muted to support Darius. Welcome to your new life, I told my reflection that first night. My shoulders were straighter. My eyes were clear. My mouth had lost its apologetic softness. On Tuesday morning, the call arrived that would reshape everything. Patricia Morrison from Whitfield Capital had been trying to reach me for days. Danielle, I have followed your work for years, especially your recent analysis of technology sector irregularities, she said. We need a research director. The compensation starts at $200,000 plus performance bonuses. My coffee nearly slipped. You want to hire me full-time? We want to build an entire research division around your approach. Our investors need someone who identifies problems before they make headlines. 3 weeks later, I walked into Whitfield's glass-walled office in a navy suit that fit as well as my confidence. My new cards read, Danielle Carter, Director of Equity Research. Seeing my name in clean print felt like retrieval. My first assignment, evaluate a biotech company as a potential acquisition target. Within hours of reading their filings, I recognized familiar shadows. Revenue designed to impress rather than inform, research costs moving categories without justification. They are cooking their books, I told Patricia in our afternoon meeting. Their Phase 2 trials do not justify projections, and failed development is hidden in subsidiaries. How certain are you? She asked. Certain enough to stake my reputation, I said, sliding my preliminary analysis across her desk. Give me a week to document everything, and I will save the fund millions. Patricia smiled. This is exactly why you are here. Working in an environment where my expertise was valued felt like oxygen after years of thin air. Colleagues leaned in when I spoke. My insights shaped investment decisions worth tens of millions of dollars. During a partners' meeting, Patricia said, Danielle's analysis just saved us from a catastrophic pharmaceutical position. Her diligence prevented an estimated $40 million loss. The applause was quiet and real. A month later, a news alert flashed. Former executive Candace Tate indicted on federal securities fraud charges. The photograph showed a woman I barely recognized, no designer armor, no commanding posture. In a cheap blazer and flat shoes, shoulders hunched, she looked small. The charges, falsifying investor disclosures, manipulating earnings, conspiracy, carried real prison time and certain professional ruin. I did not feel glee. I felt the satisfaction of alignment. The truth had finally matched the consequences. The comment sections were predictably brutal. Isn't this the executive who humiliated a consultant at a company gala? Karma is punctual, someone wrote. Another comment read, I worked there during Candace's era. She packaged bullying as high performance. Glad someone held her accountable. Candace had built an identity on manipulation. That same arrogance had left fingerprints all over the numbers. 6 months after I left Darius, the transformation was complete. The woman labeled pathetic gold digger nobody, now directed research for one of the city's most respected funds. My analysis influenced portfolios measured in hundreds of millions. Industry publications quoted me. Recruiters called monthly. Yet the professional rush was only half the story. At home, I made choices for myself. My apartment reflected my taste: oak shelves, crisp linens, a couch that welcomed me instead of staging a life for others. My schedule revolved around work that challenged me, not around supporting someone else's ambition. On Fridays, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, watching the wash of city light and relishing quiet that was not the void of dismissal, but the calm of respect. One afternoon, I ran into an old classmate, Aaliyah, at a cafe near the office. I read your piece in the Wall Street Journal, she said. I knew you would be doing exactly this. We talked for an hour about ambition and how it looks different on women, and even more different on Black women. You do not need permission, she said at the end, smiling. You never did. I walked back to the office lighter. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. My signature would make legal what had ended months before. Darius included a handwritten note. Danielle, I know I cannot undo the damage. You were always the stronger partner. I was not smart enough to see it. I hope you find the respect you deserve. I read it once, filed it away, and signed the documents. He was facing his own consequences. Unemployment, association with scandal, and the loss of a partner whose expertise could have safeguarded his career if he had valued it. That evening I stayed late in the office, polishing a report. When I finished, I stood by the window and watched the city. The lights pulsed like distant heartbeats. The story people would tell was simple: a scandal, an indictment, a market correction. But beneath it ran the quieter truth. When you underestimate someone, you blind yourself to the very force that might have saved you. I packed my bag and locked my office. The hallway lights dimmed to a soft glow. In the elevator's mirror, the woman looking back at me was the one I had always been. Focused, unafraid, precise. I did not need anyone to introduce me anymore. I knew exactly who I was and what I could do. Outside, a breeze carried the scent of rain and coffee. I walked to the curb, calling a car, my phone buzzing with one more alert about a regulatory settlement and a separate message from Patricia. Brilliant work today. Tomorrow we go after the next shadow. I smiled, slid the phone into my pocket, and stepped into my evening. The kind you earn, not the kind you are handed. The truth had done the heavy lifting. I had simply let it out. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.